Hi, John.
Oh, Nick, you're wearing your circular hat.
I'm wearing my circular hat. We couldn't record yesterday because yesterday was 5th of November. There were far too many fireworks going off around the UK. But
Was it Guy Fawkes Day?
it was Guy Fawkes Day. Yes, Guy Fawkes Day yesterday.
Ooh.
Fortunately, Addie is being a gun dog is entirely immune to fireworks. Bothers her not a jot. But this hat, my circular hat, my ring theory hat, was very useful yesterday because it was quite cold.
Well, I'm wearing my gunner's hat just for Addie. Go Arsenal. And it too is my ring composition hat, because this is our first and really just introductory ring composition post. And
wow.
Nick, this is going out to everybody, I think.
Yeah.
But most of it down below will be for paid subscribers. Nick, talk about our first meeting over our first ring composition workshop 2 years ago. Shay Jeffrey.
Wow, is it really 2 years ago?
Oh yeah.
Wow. So John, to my great delight, came to stay with me when he visited Wales to pick up his PhD, and we had a day free. I think it was the day after your graduation. Yeah. And I asked John, I asked John, well, what do you want to do? There's we could have gone somewhere. I'm a bit of a Londonophobe, so I didn't really want to go to London. But John suggested, well, why don't we try some ring theory, try some ring work. Now, I'd followed John for a few years, close to half a decade, I think, at that point, sort of 2018, I'd started following Hogwarts Professor. So I knew about his wonderful discovery with Harry Potter, and I'd followed some of the ring work he'd done on Robert Galbraith. So what a privilege. I have a photograph here of the great John Granger in my dining room. And you can see we're enjoying Great British fish and chips, complete with Yorkshire caviar, working on the Ink Black Heart.
Looks like we were drinking tea there, Nick. Are we drinking tea? Oh no, that's a different beverage than tea. Oh, all right.
That is a different beverage. So John also invented the cider shandy, so a drink almost entirely unknown in the UK, but I'm sure it'll become more popular. And so
you with an analog text. We have evidence that Nick actually has.
So this is my first physical copy of a J.K. Rowling book. This is my very first physical copy. I popped out to a local bookstore and got ourselves a couple of copies, and we used that. I had a shopping list. Actually, John sent me out the shopping list because we had to get coloured sticky notes. We already had A4 sheets of paper, which we sort of stuck together to create this. You can just see it underneath all of the papers that we're working on, this giant circle, which was the whole book. And then we each sort of took it apart and started mapping the chapters. But honestly, someone travels halfway around the world and spends a day tutoring you in ring theory. I mean, what generosity and what
oh wow!
What a privilege.
That was an attempt at a thank you for your over the top hospitality. I mean, that was such. I mean, I was planning on going over to Wales, doing the necessary, pick up the degree type thing, and instead you made it into one of the wonderful events of my life. So that was great, and for me it was pure pleasure sharing with someone who was interested in ring composition what it's about. Now we're about to share that fun with our paid subscribers, and eventually all the subscribers will be able to get the fruits of what we're doing. But what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about this project, why we're doing it, what the goals of the whole thing are, and how you can participate as a subscriber to Hogwarts Professor Substack. Nick, I can testify to how difficult it is learning how to do this alone, because I learned how to do this alone.
It's a lot easier in company. It's a lot easier with someone just showing you how to do it. I think if nothing else, it gives you confidence, because when you're part way through a part, it doesn't look like you're achieving anything. But if you've got someone who's done the process before, who knows what they're doing, then it helps you just to push past that point.
Yeah, I for example, I sent out to the paid subscribers that were paid in September my first videos of parts 1 and 2, which I've already charted. And Sandra, Hope, wrote back right away with stuff that I hadn't seen. But it was clear that she enjoyed just the fact that I talked about it for 2 or 3 minutes and showed my chart, and her own skills. I mean, she's really good at this. I mean, you're going to learn among the paid subscribers that Sandra Hope has a jump on all of this. She may have already charted all the parts for all I know, but that doing it together is one of the big values. Is that, like, when I charted Running Grave and did each part of it, and then the whole, and then talked about how it worked inside the at that point 7-book series, there was no verification, and there was no alternative to what I had come up with. No one said, no, that doesn't work, or here's something else, or say, yeah, John, that's exactly what I found too. Instead, it was all John, and it could be I just projected in the text because I wanted them to be rings. I could have been forcing the pieces. And I talked about that at some length at the end of the project, to say, really, the Running Grave ring project isn't going to be complete until somebody else does it. Well, Nick, for the Hallmark Man ring project, we're going to have as many as we have paid subscribers, people doing this and adding their notes, pushing back against certain connections.
Yeah.
Even contesting that there is a ring. Part 2, I can just talk about part 2. Part 2, the ring isn't really that obvious. And when you say that, that means, well, is it really there? Or are we just looking for it and finding it? All right. So down below, down below, you're going to see all sorts of stuff. I'm going to show, for Wizard Reading Formula, I did 2 videos on how to chart Career of Evil, which was a real challenge because none of the parts were marked. You had to figure out what the parts were. Woo. So that was, it's much easier now than it was back then, folks. And yet she gave us some real clues as to where the part breaks were. And I took up on that. Now, beneath that, I'm going to have this picture, Nick, which is part 1. There's a circular there, and that picture will be down below. That's the blank that I used. Now you're using a different picture, right, Nick?
Yeah. So I'm an electronic kind of guy. So I'm charting mine, at least initially, linearly. So I'm going to start off with this sort of linear format. And then once I've got that, I'm going to transfer this into a ring for the part. My theory being, once I've completed part 1, I can use the same sheet to continue down to parts 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so that it's easier for searching for correspondences. So I've tried to pick out keywords so that I can search then along the whole document to see where there's sort of repeated ideas.
That's incredible, Nick. That's like you're building a bridge. We're going to have schematics of this whole thing. I love it, and that's exactly the kind of contribution that, because this is, come on, right now this is John's little fetish, and no one's ever put a process into it that works. As people will see if they look at those Career of Evil chartings, I used a linear chart first, which is what I did for all the Harry Potter books to start out, and then started putting it into a ring so I could see how it worked as a whole. You know, I laid out the whole book on a linear thing, not the part, but the whole book, and only went to the rings when I had some idea what the parts were. So that's that, and once you get that chart, then you'll eventually wind up with a part 1 chart that looks like this, which again, the paid subscribers in September already received. Now that's a that chart has I have stickies around the 5 suspects of who the dead body is, so that I can see at any moment when they're working on those cases and when the big clues happen for those figures. And that's a big help, because otherwise, gosh, Nick, this becomes a very confusing book.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Has anybody told you it's a very confusing book, Nick? Yeah, anyway. And then it's laid out in a ring. So I have, first of all, I don't know if you see this, but you can see the pink and the blue things for each chapter. The pink and the blue obviously are for Robin and for Cormoran. When they're together, when they're alone, which chapters are this and that. And I was doing that already, but then we found out that Rowling does that too. She wants to know how the thing works with this kind of thing. And sure enough,
is that another idea that Rowling has copied from you, just like chapter 3?
That's right. When do I get my residuals from all this work that I'm doing for her? Right. Now, but you'll find this really interesting. You'll see that just to start you off on this, just from that benefit, chapter 7 has Strike and Robin together. You see the pink and the blue, and then you see that chapters 6 and 8. Bracketing it are both Strike alone chapters, and then you see chapters 5 and 9 are Robin alone chapters. That's a find, Nick. That's a oh yeah. 7 has to be the center. Now that's, I mean, maybe that's just grins and giggles, but and 4 and 10 are both of them together again. It doesn't quite work all the way down, but wow, Nick. That looks like that's the turtleback tango there that you just love to dance. Like, oh, I got one, right? So I mark the colored markers are the suspects, and the red and blue things are from that. And the notes on each chapter are location. Any other people that are in the thing, there's a phone call, etc. Whatever I can look at quickly when I'm trying to find parallels and how this works, bang, you can see that. Now it's not nearly as thorough as your job, but maybe one of us is CDO, as they say. Anyway, but CDO is great for this kind of work, isn't it? I mean, this is exact. I mean, you want that diagnosis in your resume. You're like, oh yeah, I'm a ring writer. I'm CDO. Do I need to tell that joke, Nick?
Which joke?
CDO is OCD alphabetized. That you're not really OCD unless you're CDO. So that's your chart. I'm OCD, Nick, but I think you're CDO. I mean, your chart is crazy. And eventually, what you get is the big chart, right? The monster chart. This is sideways. So Nick calls this my NASCAR chart, right?
So this is ring theory part 2. This is racetrack theory.
That's well, it takes 3 big sheets, and you have to put 127 chapters on it. But there it is, which is almost twice the size of Career of Evil. I think Career of Evil is 60-some chapters. So eventually, we'll take the part charts and we'll move it onto that and see how the parts relate, and then maybe we'll have some ability to talk about the other 7 books in the series and see how they relate. But I don't know. That's better for other people. Oh, incidentally, Nick, before we close this out, I mean, I just want to throw this in. The comments that we're getting to our posts are just so phenomenal. And in fact, in one of the last conversations we had, I was kind of laughing up my sleeve or down my sleeve or whatever it is about Maid of the Silver Sea. And immediately a reader comments, "Oh, John, maybe you should read that book again." And sure enough, the book has a lot of correspondences with Hallmark Man. I've got to totally reread the book. So, one on John there, Mr. Know-It-All, takes it right high in the face there from one of our serious strikers. But you're right. I'm sorry. That was stupid of me.
But isn't this the joy of being part of a community?
I guess. But when the D in PhD is dumb, I don't know. I mean, that's rough, Whoa, PhD.
The D is for still developing, John. We're all still learning. Right.
Work in progress. Woo! That was that whiplash I got was work in progress, John. Ow, but yeah, invaluable. I'd much rather be from one of our subscribers who are very kind as a rule. John, maybe you misspoke, it's just like, rather than you idiot. Did you read the book? Do you remember what it said? Anyway, that's what I would have done. Forgive me. That'd have been my response was, huh? You're the expert? You're the Hogwarts professor? Anyway, what we're getting out of this thing, the goals of this is, one, you're going to get an inside the clock mechanical understanding of Strike 8's structural artistry that is really impossible without doing this work, until you've seen it. And really the joy of discovery, going, "Oh, look at that, there it is." That I don't know, maybe that's a CDO joy, I don't know, but it really is a lot of fun to see it. It's like Rowling is leaving these beans at the bottom of the jelly bean bag for us. But there's also the meaning in the middle of each one of these things. And Sandra, yes, I got your note. What happens in chapter 7 of part 1 is really important. It happens the first time in chapter 7 and then happens repeatedly throughout the book. Really great find, Sandra. Wish I had caught it. Anyway, what you get in addition to that understanding, or consequent to that understanding, is that parts and whole book charts. You'll get the charts there on your own. You won't be dependent on anybody else for understanding this book. But most important, I think, is you get the ring reading skill set. So when you're reading other books that you really like and you say, wait a minute, and you go back and you chart it yourself, you get it. I remember reading 2 books when I was teaching a 6th grade class here in Oklahoma City, of all places. And 2 of the books we had to read that year were Around the World in 80 Days and Kidnapped by Robert Louis Stevenson. I'm confident Rowling's read both those books. One, yes, because she's a Francophile and Jules Verne is a giant. But Robert Louis Stevenson because she lives in his city. And those books are perfect rings, Nick. And imagine my surprise as the Harry Potter ring guy reading this book saying, I can't believe this. Every single thing that happens on their journey to Japan happens in reverse order coming back to England, in Around the World in 80 Days. And I was just like, oh no, I can't believe this. And Kidnapped, the same thing. They wind up on a circular rock above the English troops, the 2 characters. And that's where they finally bond, is on top of that hot rock. And everything that's, so it's a circle and a circle. It's a great book, but it's a ring that would have been invisible to me except for my experience charting Harry Potter at that point. And I can't tell you what fun that is. So this is our introduction to that. If you want to participate in this, you got to be a paid subscriber. All that, but Nick and I, of course, all our conversations will, that will remain free. The weekly stuff. So if you just want to tune into those, that's great. That's great. We welcome that. But for the folks that really want to take the deep dive with us, come along. And if this works out, we'll do other books. We'll do. Nick will finally finish Ink Black Heart. How about that? Forgive me, and I'll let people do Running Grave, and they can do it, especially if they haven't read my notes on Running Grave, and then we can actually compare the two and see if they match up. Which would be a real solace to me, because I put 2 months of my life into charting Running Grave, and it's out there.
And you actually charted it as you were reading it.
Yeah, that was actually a downfall of the commentary, because I was trying to figure out who done it while I was reading it. And maybe it's good for comic relief now, but it's sort of like, wow, John, you're way out there. I mean, I look back on that thing and giggle, whenever I have to go back to reference parts of it, because I'm doing the, oh gosh, are you going to go off again about, gosh, what was the piece about, failed theories. I'm not going to review my failed theories, because boy, let's just talk about ectopic pregnancies, right, Nick? Let's talk,
yes.
let's talk about the hits. Seriously, this is like the scarf. I'm not sure I can wear this hat every time we do a ring talk, Nick. This is hot. This is.
It is.
I'm here under the lights here.
It is quite warm. Maybe just to introduce the subject.
Woo! Woo! I want to wear my Conrecki hat again. That Conrecki thing, that was fun. Make 60 great again. I mean, that was fun. Unfortunately, I think this may trigger a lot of our audience, so I'm not sure that's a good idea. But it's I also have my other paid subscriber hat on. This is my daughter went to the Virginia Military Institute. You see the VMI spider there, and it's also kind of like a ring composition picture somehow, or a Mason symbol there. So I like wearing that. But it's kind of my quiet shout out to my daughter Hannah. Still wearing the hat. All right, folks, this has been great. We wanted to keep this relatively short. If you're a paid subscriber, you can look down below and you can go through the whole Career of Evil thing from Wizard Reading Formula. Yes, I'm updating that. And Nick, you've got a project you're going to be writing about. Do you want to keep that under wraps, or are you going to give a little hint about your project?
I'm going to keep it under wraps. We'll maybe talk about it next time.
But it's so exciting. I want to talk about it. This is the Nick project, so I have to keep my mouth shut. Boy.
You'll get news soon.
All right. Thanks again to all our subscribers.
Yes.
Especially the paid subscribers. They're keeping my lights on here in the studio. And Nick and I will be talking about reader comments and the incredible theories that people come up with that embarrass me, because I have to go, oh yeah. I
know you, John. They delight you.
Oh, they do. But still, I'm kind of like, oh, I wish I had said that. I really wish that would have been something I would have said. I'd like that. Anyway, so stay tuned. We'll be recording this weekend, I hope, Nick, unless the channels, the wind conditions on the channel, force you to go out on the boat to help your poor friend with his sailing. Oh, gosh. Until then.
Take care, everyone.